Hello everyone and welcome. I'm Dan Michaels and I'm going to be your moderator for this debate. I went around and I asked all of you, the citizens and leaders, if you had any questions for these potential governors, and today you're going to get those answers. Candidates, hello.
Hi. Hello.
Thank you all for coming. We all appreciate it. The format for this debate is simple. I'm going to be asking you several questions. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond and 1 minute for rebuttal if necessary. Do you all have any questions before we begin?
No, sir.
Alright, I would like to start from my left.
Canada. Yeah, which one's DeLuca?
My left, your right. Go ahead and introduce yourself and explain why you should be governor. Go ahead.
Okay. So some of you may not know me. My name is James DeLuca. I've really been pushing for this whole, it was originally mayor campaign, but now it's a governor campaign for near a month now, and it's happy Ivan came along to join, and then Gloria followed, and I really want to try and get some democracy in this beautiful place.
I can hear him.
I really want to get some good democracy in this place that we call home. I feel like right now, the everyday Joe doesn't have a real say in what goes on in their life. I want to change that. I want to give everybody a voice. I want everyone to feel like they have a purpose in this place we call home. And that's it. If you want a bit more depth, we can save that for later in the questioning, and I appreciate you all for showing up.
Hi, I'm Gloria Nori, and I only recently started running for governor. My main reasons for becoming governor is that I saw a necessity for compassion to our newer members off the train, and so that the citizenship could have visibility with intergovernment workings. I feel as though that we have...
Oh, God.
Fucking shoot that pendejo, what the fuck? Shoot him. Shoot him, what the fuck?
Okay, everybody stay calm, okay? Everybody stay calm.
Okay, guys. Don't worry about that. Just a minor hiccup. Let's make sure everyone is following the rules we came into, okay? Again, no fighting, no biting, no kicking, no spitting.
Who the fuck is that kid anyway?
I took a bit from that kid.
Also, let's try to get the masks off.
Get out of here, scumbag.
Mask off.
Take the fucking mask away, mijo. Pendejo.
Get the fuck out of here, kid.
Making me real uncomfortable, you know?
Boo this man.
Get out.
Can we get that mask off too, sir?
Who you, sir?
Making me hella
This guy's
uncomfortable.
clapping. Hold on. This guy's clapping. Can we get him out?
Blue mask. Can we get the mask off?
This guy's wearing headphones the
No
whole
problem,
time.
no
I think
problem.
he's seen that coming.
Just for everyone's safety, okay?
Yeah, so basically,
Well done,
accountability, visibility, and compassion. Thank
You
you
guys
for
ready to
coming.
have some fun?
He gave me a beer.
What?
Alright. Name is Ivan Ivanov. Some of you may know me as the president of the Miners Union.
What that guy?
Hey,
You guys,
everyone, please be quiet, please.
I've been running for governor for over a month now at this point, and I joined because, you know, I was part of the working class. I know what it's like being from the bottom. It's hard working all day at the mines, you barely make any money. You may not know what I'm planning to do, but I'm more a man of action. Some of the things I already implemented is the store in Pillbox for the medics. They can get bandages, food and water for their patients. Thank you.
Alright, excellent, and again, thank you all for coming. So, as I was compiling questions, I was asking the citizens of this city what they want to know. And our first question tonight comes from Joe Soap. What plans for the future do you have for this city? DeLuca, we'll start with you.
Okay. So for me, this is a very broad topic, but it's one that I really like because I feel like it's something I talk about a lot when I'm talking to people about why what I aim to do in the city. And something that it seems my fellow candidates here, I don't know if they've really worked and thought about, is the longevity of your term. I want, after my term's finished, if I do get elected, that I leave an impact on the city. The ways I wish to do this would be, for example, a democracy. I really want it so every single person can have their vote and have their say and have their value. If every person in the city gets their vote, then at least they know it's been fair. Unlike what's happened recently with marijuana being criminalized without anybody having a say in it, I don't want that to happen in the future. I also want to help them work on the DOJ. I feel like the DOJ in its current state isn't as utilized as it could be. I want to try and implement something known as a speedy trial. So if there's a judge in the city at the time, anybody can go and have a fair and speedy trial and feel like they've really been represented and had their chance to really, you know, show that they're being wrongly arrested, or at least plead their case of why they're in the circumstances that they're in. And I feel like this will be a great way to bridge a gap. So police officers will really have to be held accountable with body camera and evidence, but citizens can also
Mr.
not
DeLuca,
feel
time.
hopeless. Perfect.
All right, Ivan. Same question. What plans for the future do you have for this city?
Well, first, I'm gonna take the money from the expensive mechanic garage and use that for the tax that and use that for the citizens of the city. Implement programs for new people coming in, help them get started, maybe help them pay for their motels when they first come in, somewhere to sleep at night. For the PD and for the people, implement a database in the courthouse so you can look up public records. If you have an arrest, you have a warrant out for you. You would want to know that. That's all public record. Right now, the only way to get it is to chase down police and try to get it from them. For EMS, we already talked about doing something. I already got a store in there and I am working with them closely. I want to get liveries for their vehicles, get them new equipment that they are severely lacking and they have to pay for them themselves. And of course, the Chief Justice role, that has to be an elected role, because we can't have them dictating what we do in the city without our say. And in the Sheriff's Department, I also want to make an elected job at the Sheriff's Department, voted by the citizens of Sandy Shore. They want their own elected sheriff, and it's not going to cost the PD or the taxpayers any money either.
All right, Mr. Iverson, and time. Gloria, what plans do you have for the future of this city?
So as many of you may know, I already have plans for an ambassador program, which would fully involve citizens old helping citizens new. I've already had plans in work with the taxi service to help us be sort of a tour guide to the new people in the city, as well as the fines that are taken by the police to help pay for things for these new citizens, such as maybe a bicycle from PDM, or just some hotel rooms, etc. But mostly, it's to help people just really get to know the city. How to set up your Twitter, where to go to find a job, etc. Additionally, I want to see police accountability and for higher stations of government to actively work with the police. Right now, you have to sort of hunt for information for anything or, chase down a police officer. I would like things to be upfront so that all citizens can see and share in this information, such as arrests made, open cases, complaints made about PD, fines, laws about speed. And then finally, I'd like to overturn the outlawing of medical marijuana. Even though both sides have reasonable arguments for why it should or should not be illegal,
marijuana.
there is
Yeah,
the
marijuana.
matter of due process, and that should be respected. Everyone has a voice, everyone has a vote. We're here to listen.
Take your glasses off.
All right, excellent, and time. All right. So our next question, and you've somewhat answered these already, but let's go into a little more detail, is from Victor Wainwright, and he's wondering, are you going to make any changes to the DOJ? And Gloria, let's go ahead and stick with you.
So a change I would make to the DOJ is that all positions, of higher up, of course, would be elected, such as Chief Justice. They would no longer be appointed. However, positions such as lawyer, or judge would be showing ability before you could get your licensure or take the bar exam. I would also like to work with the DOJ to focus on sentencing and continual processing of criminal activity. Perhaps a way to sort of. Hmm, sorry. Um, I'm sorry, that's all from me.
Nope, that's perfectly fine. And James, what about you, Mr. DeLuca? Do you have any changes you'd like to make to the DOJ?
Yeah, I think the DOJ has made okay steps from where it once was, but we all know it can and should be better. Realistically, as I mentioned earlier with the democracy, this is all a factor in it. I feel like such important roles in the city, people need to vote for the people they trust to do the right job and to make sure everybody's looked after. The biggest change I think I'd make, as that kind of just comes into the democracy, I think the biggest change would be the right to a speedy trial if a judge is available. Because, like I said earlier, I kind of covered this already, but it would be really good for people just to be able to really get that evidence and that proof and feel like, okay, I may have done something wrong, I may have deserved this, or hey, the cops are not doing what they should have been. You know, either way it works, everybody needs to be held accountable, but everyone needs to feel like they're not just silenced.
Very good. And you, Ivan.
We'll start with the top, Chief Justice. They can't be appointed. Everyone in the city needs to have a say in who is chief and who isn't.
Ooh.
That should be an elected position. The rest of and instead of just having one Chief Justice, have two other people, so it's not one person's say. And every law they try to make, like the criminalization of weed, that has to go through the people. It can't be just suddenly you wake up and medical marijuana is illegal for the citizens.
Yeah, it's be like that.
Thank you.
Indeed. Now, sticking with you, Mr. Ivanson, I was talking with our friends down at PDN, Pim and Wim, and they were wondering, what are you all going to do about your plans to deal with the corruption inside both the San Andreas State Police and the EMS department?
What corruption? They already have oversight. All the corrupt officers in EMS get fired the second they get found out.
Bullshit.
A few days ago, a couple of EMS got fired for just small corruption. And PD, they constantly get fired. Three officers got fired like a week ago.
Yeah, that's a week ago. What are you gonna do in the
Hey, audience, this is a debate between the candidates. We appreciate your input, but yeah, I'm gonna have to ask you to stay quiet.
Also, police is getting an IA to look over them. Gonna get internal affairs to look over what is happening in the city, and if anyone has a complaint against them, bring it up. Don't just stay quiet and complain on Twitter. Actually bring it up to somebody.
All right, and Gloria.
Yes, so, the EMS and PD and MRPD have already taken steps towards weeding out the corruption in their own ranks. PD through IA and EMS through personal matters. However, I have been in contact and in discussion with City Commissioner Dean Hyde, and we've been talking about the governor's office accessing files from PD and writing up reports that all citizens can access. These reports will contain things such as arrests made, laws that have been put into motion, complaints made about PD, as well as fines collected. These would all be accessible to the public without any more effort on the PD's part. Visibility is the most important thing to maintaining a healthy relationship between the citizenry and the people that protect us.
All right, excellent. And Mr. DeLuca, what would you do to deal with corruption?
I mean, corruption. We all know it's happening, right? I mean, even new people that flew in the city, they've had interactions with corruption. However, there's plenty of fine officers such as the ones surrounding us right now, and they are wonderful officers, and they just get a little black mark on their beautiful resume because of other people's actions. I know they're already putting steps in place, such as internal affairs, so that they can deal with this corruption. But I think we can come up with some steps, working in partnership, and figure out a way to get rid of this corruption quicker than the current measures that are in place. And I think that's something everybody can agree on.
All right, excellent. Now our next question comes from EMS Forrest Plump, and he's wondering, why are you running for governor, and what do you hope to gain from it personally? Gloria, you first.
To be honest, I don't really see a public position as something you're supposed to gain from. I think both of my fellow candidates, are equally worthy of the position. I just hope that, the city's bettered for whoever goes in the office. Yeah.
All right. And Mr. Ivinson, do you have any personal gain or anything that you would like to... Yeah, yes, answer the question.
Personal gain? Nope. I'm here for the people. If I didn't care about the people, I wouldn't form the miners' union. Same thing. I wouldn't run for governor if it wasn't for the people. I'm not gonna gain anything as governor, except lose sleep.
For sure. And Mr. DeLuca,
Well, I want to gain.
if there is anything you could gain personally from it.
I want to gain a beautiful place that everyone can call home, that I can raise children and a family in without the risk of them being kidnapped every second day or getting shot every fifth day. That's what I want to gain. Somewhere everyone can be safe just to relax with their friends and not have to look over their shoulder and have officers at public events just to make sure nothing crazy happens. If I can gain that, I feel like we've all gained something.
All right, excellent. And now this is my final pre-made question here, and this one's a little personal for me. And Mr. DeLuca, we'll stick with you first. What will you do to help with the media and those who have made it their career?
I mean, you should know yourself, Mr. Michaels. You remember your very first news article we did together 28 days ago?
I do.
His very first news article when I seen it came into the city was my first declaration for what was mayor at the time. I also hired a candidate who also flew in the city the same day. I saw that they both were driving around with great ambitions but not much direction, and I tried to help them as much as I could. I feel like the news agency would really benefit from having a stable business model, like working in partnership with you, so you can support the people in the city and give them a louder voice when they have topics in their life they feel that more people need to hear. I feel like that would be great for yourself and great for this beautiful place.
Very good. And Mr. Ivinson?
Well, since the second you stepped into the city, I've been supporting you with the news. We had a whole crew going together around the city, getting your first articles out, got you a van. I supported you every step along the way, introduced you to many people in the city, and you created a name for yourself. And I'm going to keep pushing that. I'm going to push for you to get your own station that you're going to be in charge of.
That'd be wonderful.
And possibly the ability to have others, if they choose to be journalists or writers.
Yeah, whoever you hire.
Yep.
Very good. And Mrs. Nori, or Miss Nori yourself.
So, my first intent when I came to the city was to be a journalist like yourself. I went to school for journalism at Los Santos University here. And I was extremely discouraged when I kept getting told by the government that I needed to keep waiting and waiting for an app to come out so that we could host our journalism there, or a job that needed to be fixed. I think that government assistance, while helpful to many professions, can be deleterious in the way that it may discourage future patrons and employers and employees. I and I while I do appreciate what you've done, I think that perhaps a TV station would be for the best, but perhaps government should be as far away from that position as possible. We want the truth to be unfiltered and not biased by anyone. I enjoy what you're doing so far and look forward to seeing you grow as a businessman and as a fellow journalist.
Well, thank you. All right. Now, anybody out here who would like to ask questions, feel free to line up right here in front of me. If anyone has any questions for the candidates.
Hey, mijo.
Hola, mijos.
All right. Hello, welcome. Introduce yourself and feel free to ask your question.
I'm Fernando Mendoza, and I have a little bit of a question. I see 3 honest people in there, but I see 2 that are voting for American rights, and there's one with a Russian flag. I'm from Mexico, and I'm here to vote for the United States. What the fuck has Russia to do with all of this?
It's a good question. He said, what does Russia have to do with this if you didn't catch it?
Oh, thank you, Luca.
Mr. Iverson, would you like to respond?
Yeah, I come from a country with corruption, and I came here to escape it and weed out corruption here. So I know what it's like to be in a corrupt state, and I'm gonna fight against that.
Which one?
They shouldn't be using the flag of the United States instead of a flag of a corrupted and communist country?
I'm not planning to hide my background.
May I answer?
Of course.
I think that
Sir.
everyone comes from a different background. You know, that's what makes Americans Americans, right? None of us say, well, you know, my grandmother is from Ireland or my uncle's from Italy. You know, I think what's so great about America is that we all have a diverse background, right? Ivan's from Russia, and it's amazing that he can be part of this democratic process.
Yeah, but you don't have the Ireland or the Italy flag there?
I mean, can I say?
Hey, well, hold on, Gloria. You still have time, so please. It's Gloria's time.
Sorry, give me a second. Right. I think if we were to ask him to ignore his heritage, it would be just as offensive if we asked you to ignore your heritage in making music. We all have the right to act and say what we think. Freedom of speech and freedom of expression are one of the most important tenets of this country.
All right, and Mr. DeLuca.
As much as I agree with the points Gloria has made, freedom of speech is of course a right, but I myself, I'm mostly British by DNA, let's say, but I'm in an American country. Well, correction, I'm in America, and I run the American flag proudly because that's who I'm here to represent. I'm not here to represent Britain. I'm not here to represent my Italian heritage. I'm here to represent America and the way that America runs. To me, if I was in corruption, a corrupt country, I wouldn't feel too comfortable about putting that on a candidate poster, although I would still be very proud of where I'm from and where I came from and where I am now.
All right, and Mr. Iverson, do you have anything else to add?
No.
Very good. Thank you so much, Fernando, for your question.
Thank you, mijos.
Alrighty, state your name and ask your question.
Anyone want to buy a broom?
Hi, yes, my name is Alice
Yeah,
Valkyrie, and I want to know what our candidates plan on doing on boosting jobs for the people who don't want to be police or EMS.
Ma'am, we can't hear
Or my name is Alice Valkyrie, and my question is, what is the governors, all three of the candidates here's ideas on how they plan to fix the issues with the lack of jobs here in the city, as well as what is the plan to help those who have mental issues and need people to speak with, which is a very large problem in this city and seems to go regularly unseen.
All right, Mr. DeLuca, you could take this one first.
Alright, so honestly, this is a topic close to my heart. With many family of mine struggling with similar things, I won't go into much detail, but it's very close to my heart. I feel like it wouldn't be too difficult for us to create a program in which there are the necessary resources for people with these requirements. I feel like it would do the water good just with simple conversation and progress, slow progress to work our way forward. In regard to the jobs, I feel like there's so many possibilities. I've already been speaking with many different people about what jobs they would like to see, and also speaking with other people on how they could try and implement such jobs. I feel like there's so much potential in the city, and I think we're not even halfway there yet. I really appreciate that question.
All right, and Miss Nori.
So, in response to your concerns about the jobs, Miss Alice, you might have heard me speak earlier about the taxis being a sort of tour guide to the city and helping people learn about the job center. Well, additionally, I want to start hosting job fairs and showing people a wide variety of jobs that they might be interested in, and regularly having the private business owners post job listings and and really boosting visibility in that. Additionally, we need to take a tough look at our economy. Right now, taxis make very little money for 2 hours of work. Additionally, if you talk to the postal service, you get very little money for how much effort you put in. And there's very little person-to-person interaction when you do these jobs. I think first and foremost, we need to worry about how a citizen can support themselves and their family, as well as communicate with other people in the city. Or else, what's the point of having these jobs? And then, about your concerns of people who might need someone to talk to, I recently welcomed a psychologist into the city who's willing to apply to the Pillbox Hospital and then eventually have an office where they'll be willing to take appointments. I think mental health is something that shouldn't be overlooked, and neither does he. And I hope that someday we can all live in a healthier and safer environment where we understand one another.
All right, excellent time. And Mr. Ivinson.
All right. With jobs, I'm planning to bring in, reopen the lumber mill as one. People have been asking to work at the lumber mill, and it's been closed, abandoned for so long. And I've been working with the chief of EMS and the chief of PD, the commissioner. With the chief of EMS, we've been working to try to get a psychologist on staff and to talk to the people in PD, as if they see someone is struggling when they get arrested, maybe instead of sending them to jail, maybe send them to a psychologist, help them out instead of just locking them up and then them repeating the same thing.
All right, very good.
Not to repeat the cycle of just robbing and getting arrested and without someone to talk to them about it.
Well done.
All right, excellent. And Alice, do you have any further questions?
No, thank you though.
All right, thank you for your question.
Dan?
Yes,
Dan?
sir. Yes, sir.
Can I make a statement on the previous one?
Absolutely. You have 1 minute.
Okay. Alright, so just to clarify something to those out there that may have misinterpreted what I said. I am very proud of my British heritage and my Italian heritage. Some of the best people I know come from those days of my life. However, running for a governor, as a governor in America, you have to understand, I have to also be proud of my new heritage that I have and the heritage my family will hold too. So don't feel like it's disrespectful or I'm forgetting my past. It's that is what made me the human I am today. Thanks.
Ooh, thanks to Luca.
Excellent.
May I add one other thing?
Of course, you have 1 minute.
So I was talking to the real estate agent, but there is a psychological rehab center for drug addiction as well as psychological matters that used to be open, but there was no one really in charge of it. Maybe if we find somebody willing to take on that momentous task, we can start to truly help people.
You hear that, people? If you're interested, let us know. All right. And Mr. Robinson, do you have anything to add?
No.
All right. Introduce yourself and, of course, ask your question.
Jen James, Chief of EMS. My question is, what is your thoughts on people that are wanting to persuade others to vote for you being defamatory on Twitter on a daily basis against each other?
All right. Mr. Iverson, do you want to take this one first?
Sure. That's just dirty politics, and I personally don't play that. I don't even have a Twitter account posting anything. Most of the people that support me just say vote for Ivan. They don't ever say anything defamatory. I don't know about the rest of the candidates, but personally, I don't endorse that.
Ms. Nori?
As far as I'm aware, as far as I'm aware, I haven't posted anything inflammatory, merely advertising my public forums. Or
do I need to ask this question? I'm not saying
yes,
they're.
Yes.
I would appreciate that.
What is your opinions on those that are supporting you being defamatory towards your constituents?
Okay. So to answer that, I've asked my constituents to not post inflammatory things because if we tear each other down, how can we even hope to come together as a city and work together to make this a better place? It's hard if we're constantly just being hateful. And as much as I appreciate everyone's support, I would wish that we be kind to one another. Because being rude doesn't get us anywhere. It just gets us hurt.
All right. And Mr. DeLuca?
Tina?
So, as much as it's nice seeing everybody's support for these campaigns and my fellow campaigners, there is a certain line that has been crossed few too many times, and I myself wanted to personally keep everything off Twitter, including the advertisements, billboards, etc. However, I had people coming up to me saying, "Oh, I'll vote for this guy just because, I just seen it on Twitter." So I myself was at a disadvantage and felt like I had no other choice. As for the way people have been commenting things, if any supporter of mine has been commenting certain derogative ways to other candidates, I personally don't support it, because at the end of the day, everyone's just voting their opinion. They're backing, some people are just backing their buddies, and it's up to them what they want to do. Some people like to keep it private, other people like to scream it from the rooftops, It's everybody's personal choice, but I would just like a nice, clean process here, personally.
All right.
May I make a rebuttal?
Absolutely.
Mr. DeLuca called me Glorianus on Twitter.
But y'all.
I mean.
And what's the
I mean, that shit pretty funny though.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Yeah, I was merely pointing out what I read
honestly
on your campaign.
and
It's a bit different from the terms Jen was talking about. She was talking about a more serious matter than a joke made on Twitter.
Oh, I thought we were talking about inflammatory speech on Twitter. Sorry.
I was
just about it.
I was actually making comment to those that are in your party, within your party, making defamatory, for instance, somebody made the comment about DeLuca drinking at the bar that you bartended at. But yet, if we're going to do that, then why not just call a spade a spade?
Ms. Nori, your response?
It's common knowledge to who visits the bar. Everyone visits the bar. I'm pretty sure pretty much everyone in this audience has gone to the bar.
Nah, I'm a hardworking man.
I went that one time they gave out free whiskey.
I'm teetotal. I'm a bit of an introvert.
I mean, my point being is, I don't think anybody that's supposed to be behind your campaign should be deflaming any of the other constituents. And if you support that, then there's definitely an issue.
What's Jen? I would just like to ask personally if you know anyone part of my campaign that has done this, because I would personally have a talk with them about it because I don't agree.
All right,
So,
well,
I'm gonna step in here. I'm
campaign?
gonna step in here and save that for a private conversation between you two.
I wouldn't mind it being a public matter. If I
Well,
will take
right.
responsibility for those who are working for me. That is no problem of mine.
All right. So does anyone else have any other statements on this topic?
No, sir.
All right, Jen. Thank you so much for your question. All right, sir. State your name and ask your question.
My name is Bo Birch, and if it's alright, I would like to make a statement and ask a question.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Before
A
he
campaign
goes, I think,
manager?
yeah, I don't think he's
That's a
allowed.
bit iffy.
Yeah.
Are you here
Campaign
on
manager of Gloria?
regards for anything
Yeah.
specific?
Yes.
And what is it?
Well,
He's a
simply...
campaign manager.
Oh,
Guys, you
Oh,
can. You're more than welcome he's more than welcome to say what he wants to say, and people can judge afterwards on if it's ethical or not. Bo, go ahead.
well, my simple statement is that his name is Ivanov, not Ivanson. It's just small detail, but anyway, I wanted to ask you mainly your thoughts on workers' unions, because you have, Mr. Ivanov here bringing up, starting the miners' union, and I'm curious what the potential future governors would do to support unions and, protect them should they be, fired for being included in the union, or some such in their workplace.
All right, Ivan, go ahead and take this.
All right. So I started the miners' union when I started seeing the previous owner of the mine treating his workers. They took a break. He was yelling at them, "Get back to work." If they didn't pay him, he would chase them down and shoot them. Anything the workers did, he called the cops on them. So I unionized them, and we took him down, and he lost the mine. And if anyone else in the city wants to start the union, as long as they support the workers, I'm for it.
All right, Mr. DeLuca.
Yeah. So I feel like unions, they can apply to any job that a person holds. I feel like any person needs to have the right person they can go and talk to if they have, say if they have misrepresentation in a situation at work and they really don't know who to talk about, and it's really like it's making them struggle at work for whatever reason, then they should have that person they can go directly to, even if it's just in a simple way of how in typical HR is, where you can go and talk and it deals with more personal matters. With unions, they really are good for any job that needs them, because you can get that representation you need, and you're going to be looked after and you're going to be safe. So I am all for unions as long as they are run correctly and accordingly.
All right, and Gloria.
I'm actually quite a big fan of the union that Mr. Ivanov put together. When I worked at Whiskey Jim's, we used to have a lot of newcomers come in, and as per its proximity to the mines, people would come in, talk about how hard their day was, how little money they made, how they were robbed, and I would point them to Mr. Ivanov. It's a wonderful idea to have a union and to have someone who can represent you as a group, as we are more powerful together than we are as one. However, I believe that government should have very little involvement in unions, besides, initial support. But I feel unions are for the people, and while the government is also for the people, it needs to be something that's run independently, and perhaps maybe helped along when they seem to be failing. But otherwise, I'm very happy for unions to exist. They can help someone who perhaps isn't formally educated and maybe needs a trade. And apprenticeships are great. Like, I wish there was more unions.
All right, very good. Do you have any follow-ups, Bo?
Nope. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you for your question. Candidates, thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate you. I want to start with Mr. DeLuca, go with Gloria, and then Ivan. Go ahead and take 10 seconds and make some final remarks.
10 seconds? Alright, well,
10 seconds.
quite honestly, if you feel like there's no hope for change, I'm your man. I'm the only one who's not going to blow smoke up your ass. Just try and get your vote. I'm not going to lie to you just to try and swing you over. Thank you. Appreciate you guys for turning up. Any more questions, I'll be around for you guys.
And Gloria.
Thank you for coming today. As I've stated earlier during this debate, I've already started working towards making connections with different business leaders and people of the city. I hope that we can all work together to make this a safer and better place. Thank you.
And Ivan.
It was the people of the great state that pushed for an elective governor, and we saw an injustice by those given power, so we protested. People of San Andreas don't quit, we don't give up. Instead, we'll work with even more passion and a commitment to improve our state. For everyone that chose San Andreas to be their home, that's more than my promise, it's my commitment.
All right, and again, thank you, candidates. We appreciate your time. And best of luck to all of you.